This is Season 1, Episode 9 of the Twilight Zone. It's called Perchance to Dream. A title that's inspired from Hamlet's To Be or Not to Be. It says, to sleep, perchance to dream, there's the rub, for in that sleep of death, what dreams may come. And this is about a man who's scared to go to sleep because he's afraid he's going to die. Harkening on something that would be taken the Nightmare on Elm Street series. But this episode came out in 1959. It's the first one not to be written or co-written by Rod Serling. Instead written by Charles Beaumont. Someone I wasn't that familiar with, but when I started looking at his credits, I was immediately a fan. He would go on to write more horror-themed episodes like The Howling Man, Long Distance Call, and Living Doll. I don't want to say he's better than Rod Serling, and I haven't seen all these episodes, but his resume is absolutely perfect and is a good contrast to Rod Serling's more brainy sci-fi episodes. His focus on horror. He does the scary ones, and this is by far the scariest episode we've seen so far. Our main character is Edward Hall, and he goes to a psychiatrist's office, and he's very tired as he hasn't slept for several days and explains that he's having a hard time distinguishing between his dreams and reality. He dreams in chapters like a movie serial, and what's so great about this episode is you don't see where it's going. It sets you up to just be a more by-the-numbers episode where a guy's talking to a psychiatrist. At this point, we haven't seen any scary things, and we're not sure if we're going to actually be able to go into his dreams, but we actually do in the second half. Go into this crazy carnival that he dreams about. Does a good job of setting up his character until we get into this dream world. He talks about how he's always had a heart that just wouldn't function right, and he wasn't able to do strenuous activity as a kid. You could really see the dilemma he's in. And I've noticed as people get older, their number one fear is heart attacks, because they can come out of nowhere. And that's exactly what this is playing on. Something that if you really think about a lot could psych you out. Putting your hand to your chest, seeing if your heart's still beating. He lays down and finally we're transported to this dream world, and the visuals in this are absolutely excellent. It paints a carnival. They do a lot of interesting effects where they're turning the camera upside down, making the viewer feel disorientated, clowns making noises, people's hands turning around. I can imagine seeing this in 1959 and being terrified. Even now it's quite scary, but he runs into this girl who's a cat girl. In fact, when I first saw this scene, I wasn't sure if Rod Serling wrote this, but considering how sexual this scene is, with her doing a little dance for him, showing cleavage, and mesmerizing him, being the ultimate femme fatale, I was thinking, this doesn't seem like something Rod Serling would write. Maya is very beautiful and shows lots of skin, and convinces him to go onto this roller coaster. Character Maya, the cat girl, is played by Suzanne Lloyd, who was in 6 episodes of the TV series The Saint, 1 episodes of The Avengers, and the return of Mr. Moto. I was actually surprised that she wasn't more famous. She does a great job in here and is very striking as she slinks along in this dress and makes tons of sexual innuendos, where she tells him to come into the dark. It's nice and cold. And you could tell she's just leading him to his demise. Then they go on a roller coaster that looks like it's a scene out of Willy Wonka. She starts cackling and laughing at him, and he's getting more and more scared. And she's doing anything she can to make his heart rate go up and up and up until he finally has a heart attack. Main character Edward Hall is played by Richard Conte, and he does a great job delivering his lines in a very serious and easy to understand manner. There's no overacting here. Everyone plays their roles well. Even though he's scared that he's going to die, he's not throwing his hands in the air or trying to make goofy jokes. He genuinely seems tired, and when he has to monologue to the audience, he'll look a little off-screen and address the audience in a serious manner. That makes it seem very believable that not only is he scared, but he's taking this seriously. And I'm glad they didn't make him throw his hands in the air and overact, or get a comedian to play this role. Richard Conte was in The Godfather, played the character Berzini. He actually is an Italian actor. He was also in A Walk in the Sun, and Thieves Highway, and then some Italian movies that I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce. So we're getting this hellish dreamscape that is climaxing into this roller coaster ride with Maya cackling and laughing as Richard is terrified. Then we cut back to the psychiatrist's office. We're not sure what is real and what isn't. This doesn't get too far out there, and we get a conclusion that's very satisfying. Spoiler! He jumps out of the window, and this is foreshadowed as before he talks about how he wants to jump out of the window, and he pulls the window open and looks over the side, and we can see that they're at least 10 stories up. He won't survive that fall. So he commits suicide, but did he do it in his dream or did he do it in real life? Seems like Mr. Hall was correct. He did die in his dreams. We see him sitting in the psychiatrist's office, and he has died. This manifestation of him jumping out the window does signal him dying in the real world as well. And Maya comes into the psychiatrist's office and looks over him. So there's a couple ways to interpret this. Maybe he was always scared of the receptionist. Maybe Maya came from the dream world into the real world. Or this is just a cautionary tale about how you can psych yourself up. There's another scene that they do where he's driving a car convincing himself that there's someone in his back seat. These are very real examples. Being scared of heart attacks, driving late at night and thinking you see something in your rearview mirror. You're like, oh shit, is someone back there? No one's back there. That'd be crazy. I would have seen him. And he ends up getting into a car crash. So I think what it's trying to say is that Mr. Hall psyched himself out into having a heart attack. But they throw in the extra twist that the cat girl Maya is now the secretary, so if you want to interpret it as her coming into the real world, you can also do it that way as well. I think this is a great episode. Very underrated. I'd never seen it before. I'm going to go with my gut and give it a 9 out of 10. I look forward to more Charles Beaumont episodes. I'm a big fan of the author Dean Koontz. Charles Beaumont was one of the main influences in Dean Koontz's writing. And I think episodes like this stand the test of time because they're smart, they move fast, and they're throwing very surreal imagery at you at the same time. I've also seen the other Charles Beaumont episode, The Howling Man, and that is by far the scariest episode of the Twilight Zone I've ever seen. But I haven't seen them all, so join me in this journey to review every single episode. Let's look at some fun facts. Of course, this was the first episode to air that was not written by Rod Serling, and Beaumont's story was first published in the 1958 issue of Playboy. Yes, they used to write stories in Playboy. I know Stephen King got to start writing in Playboy as well, so that you could say you read it for the articles. And in 2002, Suzanne Lloyd gave an interview. In fact, she's still alive and has been to some conferences representing the Twilight Zone. And she recalled the experience of shooting the episode. There wasn't much levity on that set, and everything, except the psychiatrist's office scenes, were shot in angle with a camera tilted throughout. I know, that was the cool part. Because you know what a pain in the ass it is to move these gigantic cameras in the 50s. That's why they don't do it very much. Not like freaking iPhones. There's even a scene where they shoot him looking down into the street below. I know that was a pain in the ass to do. They're like hanging the camera over a ledge. I remember standing there for what seemed like forever, getting that laugh down. Richard Conte and I spent a fair amount of time working on the scenes which featured his terrified face. It was one of the greatest experiences of my life, working with that dialogue and those actors. A real joy. Yeah, she should have been in more. Next up is episode 10, Judgment Night. About a man during World War II on a ship that's about to be attacked by a German U-boat, the submarines. And check out our playlist for the other series that we've covered. We're doing all episodes of Twilight Zone. We've done all episodes of Monsters, Fear Itself, Tales from the Dark Side, Are You Afraid of the Dark, Mystery Science Theater 3000, Cowboy Bebop, and Pet Shop of Horrors. Thanks a lot.